here we are with another episode of The Horror Guys. This time we are out on the street.
Fear Street.
Reporting from the Fear Street.
Scary.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm Brian.
Okay. And I'm Kevin.
And this is The Horror Guys again with yet another horrible episode.
And this time we have some shorts to talk about, too. We haven't talked about shorts in a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
We like shorts.
Well, it's getting to be summer after all.
Yes, we do.
Well, what do we got?
We got, as we mentioned, Fear Street, which is actually broken up into parts 1, 2, and 3. In 2021, they released a trilogy all at once. And part 1 is 1994, part 2 is 1978, and part 3 is 1666.
Okay, and why did we decide to watch those right now?
Because, why?
They just came up with another one.
Oh, Fear Street, Prom Queen.
Yay!
Brand new this year.
Unrelated entirely, almost, kind of.
Almost, kind of, but same town.
Yeah.
So it's the same universe and town, but unrelated to the other people.
Right.
Yeah. Not directly.
Any other movies?
An indie film. A 2025 movie called A Hard Place.
Is there a rock in this one?
They're kind of between a rock and a hard place.
Not the rock.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It is a meaningful title.
And 4 shorts.
Yeah. Their poster is especially cool on this one, I think. The Hard Place poster. I like that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And 4 shorts.
4 good shorts. And they are all brought to you by...
us.
The Evils of Christopher Lee.
Ooh, a new book.
We got a new book.
A new book.
It's The Horror Guy's Guide to the Horror Films of Christopher Lee.
Boy,
Yay!
he made a lot of stuff.
55 horror movies and 7 additional important movies that were important to his career.
Yeah.
So 62 movies entirely.
That's a lot of movies.
Yeah. So if you liked our book on Hammer Horror, our book on Peter Cushing or Boris Karloff or Vincent Price or any of those guys, well, there's another big fat one, almost 300 pages, of the horror films of Christopher Lee.
Neato.
Yeah. He went through all that stuff in the war. He was the inspiration for James Bond.
Yes.
Literally what his cousin was Ian Fleming.
Uh-huh.
And he based James Bond on Christopher Lee's actions during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
He saw so much bad action that he wanted to get into acting because he could figure that was the least horrible thing he could ever see.
Yeah, well, you get away from all that.
Nothing bad ever happens in movies.
Nothing bad ever happens in movies.
And then he became
There's no blood
Christopher Lee.
Yeah. Well, at least it's fake.
Yeah, okay, there's that.
Yeah.
So 280-some pages. It is available on Amazon. It's available from Lulu. It's available from brianshell.com. You can buy it direct from us. Just go over to horrormonthly.com. And there's a link right on the homepage.
Groovy. Right
next door to the Academy Awards of Horror, which is our other new book this year.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the monthly magazine, Horror Monthly, which we've got a new one of those coming up in a day or two. Probably be out by the 2nd or the 3rd at the latest.
We're recording this on June 1st.
Yes. So many books.
Mm-hmm.
So little time.
But what are we going to talk about first?
Well, how about Fear Street?
Part 1.
I got to find part 1. It didn't come up out of order here on my screen.
Okay,
yes.
2021, as we said. 1994. It was directed by Lee Janiak, written by R.L. Stein, Kyle Killen, and Phil Graziadel. Stars Kiana Madeira, Olivia Scott Welch, and Benjamin Flores Jr., and a whole bunch of other people. It's got quite a big cast.
Hour and 47 minutes. And I'm going to say right off the bat, I think all 3 of these movies are about 20 minutes longer than they should have been.
I'm going to go and agree with you.
Yeah, they all felt a little stretched out. Not that they're bad, but they all felt a little long.
Spoiler free, can I tell them?
You can.
Well, a lot of teenagers in their 20s go through drama, romance, and horror as they try to fight a witchy evil that's been tainting their town for hundreds of years. There are lots of 1990s references because they do work hard at setting it in 1994. And the references are actually a little bit hit and miss, but they get the vibe right. It's pretty well made overall. And there's some good moments. Like we said, it's a little bit predictable and a little bit too long.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough new, things we hadn't seen before.
Now, I've seen criticism for both this one and the previous one not being historically accurate. There's also it's anachronistic. It's not Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't really trying to knock us out with their time travel, their setting.
It was more of a general vibe.
It's an R.L. Stein book. It's
Yeah.
Goosebumps. It's not meant to be taken too awful seriously.
It's Goosebumps intended for slightly older people, right?
I don't know what the books were
them.
intended for. I never read them either.
No, I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
The Goosebumps is more childish than these are, I guess. I never read them.
I looked up Prom Queen on Amazon, and it looks just like the Goosebumps book. So I don't know how much older you're supposed to be.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the same thing. Just maybe R.L. Stein is older now.
Well, he rented his name anyway.
A woman buys a book at the B. Deltons in a mall full of stores, so we know this is the 90s. I miss mall bookstores.
So do I.
The main reason to go to a mall. Now they wonder why the malls are dead.
Our one mall had 2 bookstores. And
mine too.
Another mall in the area had 3 bookstores.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I think mine had...
But that was then. This is now.
Yeah, bookstores, toy stores, Radio Shack. There was a reason to go to the mall in the 90s.
There was, and now...
Now you can buy shoes or old T-shirts.
Yeah, basically it's clothes, and maybe a Spencer's Gifts if you're lucky.
Hot Topic. Is
Hot
Spencer's
Topic.
even still a thing? I don't remember.
It is.
Okay.
It is still a thing in some places.
Heather answers a phone call from Ryan, but the line drops out. He gives her a jump scare using a blow-up sex doll, and they get separated again. Suddenly, a man in a skull-faced Halloween costume attacks her with a knife. She runs to another store and calls 911. She whomps the baddie with a lava lamp, because it's one of those Spencer's-type places.
Mm-hmm.
But he eventually catches up with her and stabs her. As we hear gunfire, the killer pulls off his mask, and we see that it's Ryan. Again. As the cop shoots him, both teenagers die in the middle of the food court.
Well, we'll never see Ryan again.
Credits roll as we hear news reports that Shadyside has all kinds of crazy slashers and murders. They have quite the history.
Mm-hmm. And they're economically depressed, and it's just not generally a good town.
Shadyside sucks.
Yeah.
If you want to where the happening is, you got to be over at Sunnyvale, which is the town next door.
Their sister town, which seems to be thriving and never has any crime or anything.
Dina watches the news as Sheriff Nick talks about all the town's serial killers. She yells at her little brother Josh about running up the AOL bill with the internet. Yes, there was a time when you had to pay by the minute for the internet.
And you dial it up, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's in chat rooms on AOL talking about the serial killer and the massacre last night at the mall. At school, everyone thinks the witch is back, and that seems to be all anyone talks about. There's a lot of very typical high school drama as the school has a memorial service for Heather and Ryan. Mayor Good is there, and he addresses the crowd. Dina runs into her ex, Samantha, and returns a bunch of stuff she borrowed from her. Sheriff Good talks next. It's the mayor and the sheriff are brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks as Dina and Sam argue about Sam moving to Sunnyvale, away from Shadyside. And the way that these movies go, you'd think they're probably like 300 yards from each other, but they're acting like it's across the country.
Mm-hmm. They're really just right next to each other, yeah.
The memorial service soon turns into a big brawl as the two football teams fight. They all seem to attend a school with no adults present, not even a bus driver. We see the sheriff and the mayor, and then they both kind of disappear, and it's nothing but the high school football teams fighting.
Mm-hmm.
No one stops them.
No one stops them, yeah.
On the way home, the Sunnyvaler's car attacks the Shadysider's bus, and that goes badly. When the car goes off the road, Sam sees something creepy in the woods. Well, the next night, Dina sees Skullface outside and runs him off. Wait, didn't he die? Well, she goes to her friend Kate's house. Kate and her brother then tell the story to Josh and Dina. They all assume it's Peter, Sam's new boyfriend. They go to the hospital where Peter has been with Sam all day. As Dina and Sam argue, someone stabs Peter in the back. This is one of those hospitals without any staff or other patients either.
And Peter is no longer a suspect.
No, he's not. He did not do it. So yeah, there are no adults in this movie for some reason.
They forgot to include them.
It's like watching a Peanuts comic strip with a lot of blood.
Uh-huh.
Well, Kevin pointed out immediately that all the teenagers were being played by actors in their upper 20s. So there are adults in this town. They're just faking it.
Yeah.
Not long after, he was already rooting for everyone to die. The characters in this, none of them are particularly likable.
Yeah, it took me a long time to root for any of them. Eventually I did.
Did you?
Yeah, eventually. Okay. But it took a long time. Like, guys, wow, I got to find something to like in here, like about these people.
Yeah. Well, the sheriff shows up at a couple of different times during the show, but other than that, there doesn't appear to be any adults in this town. And, of course, teen romance and high school rivalries just don't matter to us anymore. It's all very hard to take seriously. There's a lot... Oh, boy, they take their high school stuff seriously.
Very seriously, yeah.
There are lots of 90s references here, but a lot of them aren't really all that accurate. Yeah, at one point she gets a phone call and the brother's on the AOL. You don't get phone calls while you're on AOL because it ties up the phone line.
Maybe they had 2 phone lines.
No.
Nobody could afford that.
Not back then.
Yeah.
I think that actually happens twice in the movie. I am amazed at the positive reception this got when it came out. People raved. And we're both too old to have read either the Goosebumps or Fear Street series, so there's no nostalgia here for us. It's like this was made as a horror movie for people who had never seen a slasher movie before.
Maybe.
It's babies for a slasher. It's well made, I guess, but I found it really dull, offering exactly nothing new or interesting.
It has some good moments.
I really feel this was designed to be an introduction to horror for people that had never watched a horror movie before.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. It's
kind of family friendly. It's kind of kiddified, and it's all very, cliched and standard. I didn't care for it, but we had to watch it to get to the other 3. So
I was entertained more than not, but yeah, wasn't great.
Yeah.
But then we watched the second one.
1978. Directed by Lee Janiak, written by, it's all the same people. But this one stars Sadie Sink, Emily Rudd, and Ryan Simpkins, and it's also 1 hour and 49 minutes, and there's a trailer in the show note for it too. Well, this one has some of the present day for the first movie as it continues the story. Not everybody died in that first movie, but a large chunk of it flashes back to a prequel of things that took place in 1978. Oh, we have a theme music. It's the Ice Cream Man driving by.
If you can't hear that, we're enjoying the tune.
We never did do the Ice Cream Man movies.
And we have our Ice Cream Man drives through at about 25 miles an hour. I don't think he speeds, but he does not slow down or go slow.
No.
If you want your ice cream, you better hear that tune and come running fast to get his attention, because he is not cruising the neighborhood slowly.
Well, anyway, this takes place in 78, as we said. It's a slasher at a summer camp kind of story. Jason and those guys. It takes a little while to get to the good stuff, but it does get going nicely. We both thought it was better than the first one.
Definitely.
I would go so far as to say this is the best of the 3.
Well, I'm not going to go there, because I think that the second half of the third one is the best part for me. The wrap up.
It does have a lot of action in the third one.
Yeah, there's a lot more action and a lot more things happen. Yeah,
okay.
That's what I'm going to go with.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you. That is pretty good.
My favorite part of the 3.
All right. Well, what happens here?
Well, we get a quick recap of the first film. We then get a news report about the carnage at the mall, hospital, and grocery store. Simon and Kate are getting the blame for all that. And we cut to C. Berman, who's clearly very paranoid. She's got the note that the sheriff left her about it happening again. I don't know if we mentioned that.
We don't know who
previously.
C. Berman is, but the sheriff left her a note at some point that it's happening again. So these two know each other.
A note in the box, yeah. Well, she catches Dina and Josh coming in through her kitchen window. They want Berman's help, and they've brought Sam to her. Berman doesn't want them there, but...
And I suppose we have to spoil
relents.
the first movie by saying Sam gets possessed by a demon or something. She is totally a monster at this point.
Yeah.
And they're trying to cure her.
They're trying to fix her up. And Berman has clearly some experience with this.
She is the only survivor.
She was the only
from
survivor
the
from the
massacre.
78 massacre. Yeah. And they want to know how she survived. Yeah. Well, she reluctantly tells them the story of the summer of 1978 at Nightwing Camp in Shadyside. and credits roll.
Most of the rest of the movie is then a flashback.
In the 1970s, yeah. It is the 70s suddenly, and a bunch of mean girls tie up Ziggy Berman and torment her. They rope her to the same tree that Sarah Fear was hanged back in 1666. Sheila, one of the mean girls, grabs a lighter and burns Ziggy on the arm, at least until Nick intervenes. Kurt is a counselor there, and he doesn't like Ziggy much, and we get a camping montage, including all the 70s camp sexy stuff. We meet the various employees of the camp, including young Cindy Berman.
C. Berman.
C. Berman.
And we know already that Nick is going to grow up to be sheriff and Kurt is going to grow up to be the mayor. We don't know who all these girls are.
Yeah. Well, Ziggy goes to the nurse's office and finds a book of witchcraft stuff on Nurse Lane's desk. Nurse Lane is Ruby Lane's mother, the girl who went crazy and killed 8 people.
She's one of the monster characters from the first movie.
Yep. Cindy yells at Ziggy, her sister, about not getting kicked out of the camp. Cindy complained to Tommy about it later. There's camp drama, employee drama.
It's better than the high school drama.
It is, yeah. Nurse Lane comes in and tells Tommy that he's going to die tonight. Well, she's a great nurse. Yeah. She attacks him, and they're both injured, and she gets wheeled away in an ambulance. At lunchtime, Ruby Lane, Nurse Lane, and the witch are all the subject of conversation, understandably. Yeah. And there's some more Sunnydale versus Shadyside nonsense.
This has been going on for decades.
Everyone thinks Shadyside is cursed as the teams play Capture the Flag.
Did you notice that the Sunnyvale team is all like strong, healthy teenagers, and the Shadyside team is all just a bunch of like scrawny 10-year-olds? Of course they're going to lose.
Yeah, that's how it worked. Well, Cindy and Tommy check out the nurse's office and find the witchcraft book. Alice and Arnie are in there as well, stealing drugs. And they find a map in the book to the witch's house, and Alice wants to check that out. Well, Ziggy and Nick talk about Stephen King books as she mixes blood-colored paint, specifically talking about Carrie. Yeah. She knows she's not going to grow up to be, she knows he's going to grow up to be the chief of police someday. And he's all straight and uptight, but she's not. He's from Sunnydale, and she's from Sunnyside.
That's
Shady Side, so that's not going to work. Yeah, Romeo and Juliet. Yeah, I can't do that. Should we stop there?
One more.
Okay. Cindy, Tommy, Alice, and Arnie find an old cemetery where Nurse Lane had been digging up bodies.
Oh, my.
Yeah, and there's a whole cellar under one of the graves, lit candles and all. They find Tommy's name etched in stone under all the other possessed people. And right then, Tommy grabs an axe and kills Arnie before walking back to camp.
No, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Except the nurse said it was going to happen.
Yep.
Okay.
She was right.
Yeah. Well, as obviously this is a slasher at camp movie, but it set the background framework laid down in the first film. This doesn't require on the teenage nonsense the way the first one did. It gets right down to business with bloody, gory killings. Unlike most Friday the 13th films, this one kills some kids, so that's fun. Yeah, they kill some of the little kid. Actually, you remember, most of those Friday the 13th, it's just, before the summer gets going, they kill the counselors and there aren't any kids.
This had full kids.
This is a fully thing. Yeah, this is the ready to go.
This was full of kids, full of little victims.
Fewer kids at the end.
Yes.
It does take a long time to get moving, but it does get there eventually. I think we were both much more entertained with this than the first one.
Yes.
Although getting the lore of the witch in dribs and drabs is way too slow. Yeah, they give us some information about the witch in the first movie, and a little bit here and a little bit there, and
a little more.
We're learning more of the
story. Yeah,
they knew at the time it was going to be a full trilogy. They were all filmed, I assume, at the same time, and they kind of stretched it out a little bit, maybe a little more than they should have.
Yeah,
we liked it. It was better than the first one. Still not amazing, but it's all right.
We should all be glad that it was not filmed in smell-o-vision. They find a cave where the bad stuff is happening. It's under the outhouse. So when people have been going for all these years, it's not going into a pit. It's going into this
monster's
cave.
lair.
And these people are down in the cave, rolling around in it and running around in it and falling around in it. And yeah, would have been fragrant.
Part 3 from 1666. Written and directed by the same people, stars Kiana Madeira, Ashley Zuckerman, and Jillian Jacobs. Hour and 54 minutes, trailer in the usual place. This one, spoiler-free, what happens?
Spoiler-free, it suffers what all three of the films do, a slow start, and maybe a little too long, like we said. Using the same cast, though, as ancestor characters in 66. That was an interesting choice. The same cast and different... only the first part is set in the past, and then it goes back to the modern time of the 1990s and wraps up. And there's more to like than dislike about it. And if you watch the first two, you really do need to finish it with
Either
this one.
commit to all three of them or don't bother.
Yeah, for sure.
None of them are good by themselves. It's a trilogy.
But if you've watched the first two, you definitely have to watch the third one.
Yeah. Well, we get a recap of the first two films, ending with Dina in the 1600s in Sarah's body. So she's sort of time traveled.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah/Dina gets called in by Josh, by Henry, who looks just like Josh, to help the pig give birth. Henry looks just like Josh from 1994, and credits roll. As Sarah/Dina walks through town, we see that all the 1666 villagers look like actors from the previous two films. She stops to talk to Hannah, the pastor's daughter, who looks like Samantha. Thomas, who looks like Tom, is the town lunatic. Sarah takes a baby pig to Solomon, who looks like Nick from the future, and they're engaged. So Sarah, Hannah, and Lizzie go to see The Widow in the Woods, and Sarah finds the old woman's book of spells. They soon get thrown out, and instead they eat berries by the fire before making out with each other. Wait, lesbians in the 1600s? That's not going to end well.
That's not going to end well.
In the morning, Hannah tells Sarah that her father's lost his mind. Something may have possessed him. Hannah's mother suspects that Sarah and Hannah have been wicked together, and they might get blamed for her father's insanity.
And the story up to this point, Sarah is the witch that they think everything originated with. So we're getting to see what she was really like.
History says Sarah Fear is a witch.
Uh-huh.
And Sarah's indiscretions then get spread all over town. Henry reports that the mother pig has eaten all their babies, so Sarah kills it with an axe. When the well gets contaminated, everyone starts looking for a witch. Sarah and Solomon start talking about how she didn't invite the devil to town. Suddenly there's a scream. The pastor has gone crazy and locked all the children, including Henry, inside the church with him. Solomon breaks down the door and finds all the children dead. Thomas continues to scream that it's all witchcraft. Hannah and Sarah's fooling around comes up again. Everyone saw them making out. Well, Sarah runs off into the woods as the villagers search. Hannah is caught and chained up in the barn. Everyone thinks they summoned the witch, so why not make it true? Sarah wants to make a deal with the devil to save them both. And then Sarah runs to the widow's house and finds her already dead.
Not going to make a deal there, are they?
Yeah, things escalate in the past, and then they return to the present, and the drama plays out to the end.
Things wrap up nicely.
Using the same actors to play the characters in different time periods was stolen right out of Dark Shadows from the 60s, which we're in the middle of right now. What'd you think of Dark Shadows?
It was a fun idea, too.
Yeah.
I mean, that dragged on too long. Dark Shadows was done as a soap opera, and they really milk out the story slowly.
They do.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we don't see that happen very often, so we'll call it a good feature here. It was an interesting idea.
Yeah, it was.
All three of these films take entirely too long to get to the meat. They're really slow for the first 45 minutes, and that's true for all three. Each part feels like it's been stretched out for maybe 20 or 30 minutes extra for some reason. I suspect Netflix wanted people tuned in as long as they could.
Mm-hmm.
Still, it ended well, although the first half from 1666 took way too long. And I agree with you, the last half is pretty good.
So all three total about 5 hours, 15 minutes. And I think they could have done maybe 4.5 hours, They could have done some slicing and dicing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
But we'll never see any more of that First Street garbage again.
Well, then they made Prom Queen.
Oh.
Just this year.
2025 came out just a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Directed by Matt Palmer, written by Matt Palmer, Donald McCleary, and R.L. Stein. Stars India Fowler, Susanna Son, and Fia Straza. Hour and 31 minutes. So it's shorter. It's got that going for it.
It does. It doesn't have that extra 20 minutes of drag. It's only an hour and a half.
Different writers and directors this time.
Mm-hmm.
Different stars.
Doesn't drag. The kills are well done. Spoiler free.
Yeah.
It was too heavy on the teen and high school drama still, but it still manages to be entertaining. It takes place in the same town as the starting trilogy, and they do mention the witch and the bad things, but it's not connected with those events. We liked it quite a bit.
Yeah. I've heard some people say it's really stupid, but I mean, it's based on a kid's book. So, I mean, it's kind of, it's the story, I guess.
Yeah, and it takes place before 1994. Here we're set in 1988.
Yeah. As you say, Shadyside High School, 88. It's 2 days before the senior prom, and six students are running for prom queen. We got Tiffany, the mean girl, Christy, the weed dealer, Linda, the smart one, Debbie, the gossip, and Melissa, the lapdog. And the final candidate is the unpopular Laurie Granger. Who's going to be the final girl out of that, do you suppose?
I know, but then I've seen it, so...
You probably could have guessed without.
Yeah, I bet you could guess.
Her best friend is Megan, who thinks the prom is lame. Laurie's mother may or may not have stabbed her father in the eye many years ago. She's known as the child of a murderer, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Although there was never any evidence, nothing happened with that.
So there's some stigma there.
One day, in class, Megan stands up and cuts off her own hand. One kid stands up and pukes. Turns out it's all just a prank, and she gets sent to the principal's office. Laurie talks to Tyler, and we get lots of teen angst and drama. That night, Christy walks home in the dark when someone in a shiny red raincoat kills her with an axe. Uh-oh.
One less prom queen.
The next day, due to her absence, she's disqualified for running for prom queen. Vice Principal Breckenridge wants Laurie to win justice for how her mother was treated. It's time for the prom, and everyone gets ready. Laurie's mother talks about her experience at her prom, where she killed Laurie's father.
Nice.
Maybe not the best prom.
Yeah.
The principal calls all the contestants up onto the stage, and the other 4 girls do a sexy swimsuit dance, leaving Laurie out, completely unaware that they were going to do that. They're really trying to cut her out.
And these are supposed to be high school girls, and that was pretty naughty for high school.
And no one at all knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, huh?
Uh-huh.
Linda and her boyfriend talk about what it takes to win and notice that all of her flyers have been defaced. The red raincoat killer is there, and he disarms Dan before killing them both.
And you said he.
Well, I'm assuming. Yes, I'm assuming.
We are assuming that, but the raincoat killer is so completely covered. It's one of those where you don't even know what gender they are.
Anybody, yes.
Yeah.
All right, and then Raincoat kills many more people till the end. Well, the weakest point of the first film was all the high school nonsense and teen drama, and this one doubled down on that. Everything revolves around the vote for prom queen, but it's just one good girl against the mean girls, with a bunch of other stereotypes in between. We pretty much know how it's going to end. This isn't Carrie, but it's trying to be.
A little bit, yeah.
Carrie even got a mention in one of the previous movies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the kills are good, and it never gets boring. I had a theory about halfway through about who the killer was, but hey, I was actually wrong.
I was too.
Did you agree with my theory?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, and we were wrong. So it has that. It stumped 2 jaded guys who've seen a ton of such movies.
But I still have heard complaints about who the reveal turned out to be.
Complaints?
Yeah.
Like they didn't like that?
Like, who the heck was that?
Oh.
That kind of thing.
Oh, I thought it was okay. Yeah.
It was all right.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it may have the best soundtrack of any movie ever.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Lots of songs from the era.
Yeah. Of course, our prom was not too far off from those years.
There's our nostalgia.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were both, I was class of 84.
85.
So, yeah, we were close to this era. And we liked the music from that era. And they use it. Yeah.
Maybe one of the first movies that I've recognized every song on the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm old.
Yeah.
All right, something that's not old is A Hard Place from 2025, just released last week. Directed by Jay Horton, Written by Michael J. Epstein and Jay Horton. Stars Felissa Rose, Lynn Lowry, Rachel Amanda Bryant. It's an hour and 28 minutes. There's a trailer in the show notes, as well as a link to watch it on Amazon.
Alrighty.
Spoiler free. When criminals on the run seek refuge at a big old farm, it seems like a good idea at first. What's worse than getting trapped in a place with monsters? Yeah, you probably ought to watch this to find out rather than spoiling it here. It's decent all around, with good effects and an entertaining script. We give it a thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, usually these indie kind of movies...
And it is an indie kind of movie.
You can tell in an indie movie from... It's usually bad acting and bad special effects and horribly stretched out. And this wasn't. This was actually, I don't want to say surprisingly good, but it was better than we expected going in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The trailer did not do it justice.
No, I don't think it did.
So, without spoiling it completely, give us a taste.
Well, we see a woman who's hiding as zombies eat people. It's a massive slaughter with zombies and people fighting it out. Zuri, she's a fighter, and she helps all the others kill zombies. We cut back to see that it's really two people watching a zombie movie at the drive-in.
We watched this for like 2 or 3 minutes. We're like, this movie really sucks.
And I was thinking, that's something I appreciate about this movie too, because the movie that they're showing at the beginning was just cheesy awful.
Uh-huh.
And I was thinking, if this whole thing is like this.
Yeah.
But they were able to make it deliberately that way.
It's like a bad movie in the movie.
And I thought that was pretty cool that they were able to do that. Yeah. Distinctly, different. Yeah. Well, inside the drive-in's office, a group of criminals hold up the place and end up shooting the woman who's running the place. They weren't supposed to do that. Nobody was supposed to get hurt. Well, the couple watching the movie is involved, and soon everyone is in on the shootout. A couple people get shot. And as the crooks drive away with what they came for, they argue about whether or not they should have killed anyone. Xenia says they need to lay low, and she knows just the place. And credits roll.
Out in the country.
Yeah. Well, the 6 criminals, they arrive at an isolated farm in the snowy hills. And we quickly see that there's something not right with the local plants. Something in the woods gets Xenia from behind. It gets Stevie as well. It's some kind of plant-covered person. Some hunters rescue Xenia from the plant zombie, and they soon run into a larger group of hunters. Well, meanwhile, in the barn, the rest of the gang run into 2 of the creatures, and now they all know what the score is.
There's plant monsters.
Yeah. Is that Nausea?
Uh-huh.
Nausea. It's a...
Not nausea.
Nausea. Nausea, yes. The woman who was there first calls them guardians, and she says they need to wait for nightfall, just hide out. The only way out of the barn is through a dark underground tunnel.
As you'd expect.
Which is handy to have, yeah. Well, somehow Nadja and Fish, one of the crooks, get separated, but the rest join the hunters. And we have a heartwarming story about a pet monkey and a twisted grandmother. That's quite the story.
That's quite the story, yes.
Yeah. Well, until the group is attacked again. And then they all go to the hunter's home, where Mother Henrietta explains about their long-standing feud with the plant monsters. Fish learns that Nadja's gunshot wound is completely gone. And is she infected with whatever has infected the guardians?
It's a mystery that we're going to let hang right there.
There's something odd about Nadja. Yeah.
Well, this was filmed mostly in Ohio. I actually recognized the Dixie Twin Drive-In Theater for the movie's opening right away.
I did too.
We have been there.
Yeah.
I like their Saturday flea markets.
I
used to go there when I was little.
I never did the flea market.
You never did the flea market,
no,
okay.
No, just the movie there.
I used to go there when I was like 5 with my parents, and they had these little grab bags for like a quarter, and they had little things in it.
Oh, fun.
It was. Yeah. For a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
They still have the flea market. I don't know if those grab bags are still there.
Probably not for a quarter.
Not 50 years later. Like many of the indie films we've looked at recently, this suffers from a cast that's too large. Henrietta's family is like 20 people, and they all seem to get a line, for better or worse. I think that's probably one of the unfortunate side effects of crowdfunding. Everybody gets a little tiny role.
Sometimes in some movies,
it's really
obvious that they did that.
Yeah.
But this one, I don't know. I'm not so sure about.
Well, it didn't really, it wasn't to the detriment of it, but it seemed like as we were trying to figure out who's who, there was an awful lot of characters.
A little bit cumbersome, yeah.
But the monsters are what you get when you're told, we have cordyceps at home.
It was kind of reminiscent of The Last of Us.
It was, yes.
Mm-hmm, yeah. But it was decent. I mean, they were visible in broad daylight, and they looked good.
They did look good.
Yeah, creepy. It looked like infected people.
I couldn't tell if they were like plant mutants or like evolved corn stalks. They kind of look like corn in a lot of cases.
I am Groot. None of them said that.
No. Actually, for a low-budget indie film, the plant creatures were very well done. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of them, and they had a good variety. The fight scenes are well choreographed and don't go on for too long. We loved the monkey story.
Yeah,
it was so completely
awesome.
Unnecessary, and yet still just perfect. There was a lot of humor in this one. Overall, we liked it. It was entertaining throughout.
Yeah. And you do have a point about the cast being cumbersome, but that does allow for a lot of red shirts to get killed off.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of carnage here.
There's pretty good body count and gruesome deaths.
The more characters you have, the more kills you get.
Yeah, so I'm glad I got to see it.
Well, that's all for the... Oh, wait.
We have some shorts
to talk about. We haven't done shorts in ages, it seems like. 2025 short film, Mugs. Directed by David Padilla and Samuel DeAngelis. Stars Carlo Marx, Gene Rosalino, Robert Sutton, and Danilo Vargas Jr. Little under 8 minutes, and we got a link to watch this on YouTube. What happens?
How does it star 4 people? There were 3 people in the cast. It just occurred to me.
The mother, the father,
and the son.
The son.
Huh.
I don't know. They're listed.
Okay. Well, Alex returns. Oh, there was a driver. Uber driver.
All right.
Yeah.
Not a big role.
Yep. Alex returns to his family after at least a year. His family, his parents, are having troubles. He says that his dad is a handful and his mom might be getting a little hazy on memory.
What is a handful exactly? We don't know.
We don't know, yeah. Well, he arrives and his mother starts talking about nightmares. His mother makes coffee, but can't find the mugs for some reason. You wonder, where are all the mugs? Well, Alex quickly figures out that his mother is in the early stages of dementia, or maybe further along than that. And where is Alex's father, anyway?
We find out.
We do find out.
Apparently, George really likes his coffee. I like coffee. Could I have some coffee, too?
You can have some coffee, yeah.
It looks great. It's very well shot, well lit, and done well overall. I don't think there are too many surprises here. I kind of saw it all coming.
Yeah, you can. You can see it coming.
Other than the general situation, but it's one horror that's all too common in real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of sad.
Yeah, very well done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we saw one short. Now let's see 2. We could even call it Double Vision.
Double Vision.
2024 is Double Division.
A one-woman show.
Written, directed, and starring Isabel Kaiser. Just a hair over 5 minutes, and of course it's on YouTube also. This one, what do you think? What happens?
Well, a girl reads a creepy news story on the walk home in the dark. She sees something strange, someone standing next to the car. But when she looks again, there's no one there. Well, she gets home. She's careful to lock the front door. But we see she's not alone, not alone in the house. Not as alone as she thinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, seeing something like that on the top of your steps, why would you turn the light out? It's like, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Isabel Kaiser wrote, filmed, acted, and did everything else here, and she did a great job. It's short, there's no dialogue, but it all looks great and is nicely paced. The story is, it's not going to show you anything you haven't probably seen before. But considering it's a one-person job, it's really very well done.
It always impresses me when one person does
it
this.
all. Yeah.
And probably just a no budget really, and just got a camera
in and around the house.
Yeah. It was a good one.
Yeah. 2024's Portrait of Fear, written and directed by Parker Viale, stars Lainey Larson, Vivian Emerald, and Joaquin Hinkins. Here under 9 minutes, and it is also on YouTube. This one, a woman's sister has died suddenly, and she decides to leave. She starts packing her things, and the memories come back to her. Exhausted, she finally goes to bed at 3:13 a.m. It's very clear about that clock. Was that the time that things started going bad in Amityville Horror?
Oh, I don't know.
I think 3:13 is just sort of generally a cursed time
must
of
have been
night.
symbolic, yeah.
Just as she turns out the light, she hears the bedroom door close.
She was asking for a sign.
Uh-huh.
She gets it.
And the photo of Emily on the desk there has gone blank. What could that mean? Nothing good.
Nothing good.
We like the message scrolled on what used to be the photo. The photo goes blank and it comes up like a chalkboard.
And there was more than one message.
There was.
Yeah.
It's nicely done for what appears to be no real budget. Again, it's all shot in someone's house, but it's well lit and clear what's going on at all times. Starts out a little slow. There's a lot of, mourning drama. Oh, my sister's dead.
But it ratchets up.
But
it's only 9 minutes long,
exactly,
so it doesn't go on that too long.
But the tension ratchets up consistently to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
Good one. All 4 of the shorts were good ones this week.
Yeah, no stinkers this time.
Yeah.
And then we go back and do a little bit of an older one, 2015 short film called Room 88.
And this was more of a humorous science fiction than horror, I think. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, there's not a lot of horror in this one. Written and directed by Mike Booth, stars John McCormick, Gary Taylor, and Blake Barbish. A little under 9 minutes, and it is also on YouTube.
Room 88.
Well, there's a knock on the door of Room 88. The neighbor wants to know what the man's doing in there to make the lights keep flickering. Neighbor says he's going to complain to the management.
He's trying to read, and the lights keep flickering.
Inside the room, the scientist looks at a small device he's made. It's time, he says as he activates the device and laughs maniacally. The lights do indeed flicker, and then they go out. It's still not working. Will he ever get it right? Yes, it does look like he's going to get it right.
Yes, apparently so. Yeah, he does.
And this is the problem with the idea of time travelers. Interesting events will be full of people who traveled there to see it.
It sure seems like it.
Just last week I read a story by Harry Turtledove, and it's either Asimov's or Analog Magazine, which I read every month.
Yeah.
There's this time traveler goes back to the start of World War I. Franz Ferdinand's about to be assassinated. And everybody from the future, it seems like everybody wants to go back and see this event. And there are more time travelers there than there are local people. And they start interfering and fighting over who gets to kill him or who gets to save him. And it's a good story.
It seems like that would happen if time travel was really real.
Important events would become tourist attractions very quickly. Mm-hmm. It's got a very retro look here, and the added annoyance of the busybody neighbor really makes it fun. It's a simple idea, executed really well, and it's fun to boot.
And the time traveler thing, too, I remember with Star Wars in 1977 when that opened, and it was drawing crowds around the block. And I've seen more than one joking mention of it. It's just all the time travelers that went back and want to see the opening of Star Wars.
Yeah, could be.
They're the ones that are lined up around the block.
All right, and that's it for this week. But in the meantime, you could go out and pick yourself up the Horror Guy's Guide to the Horror Films of Christopher Lee, which there will be a link in the show notes, of course. And until then, we'll have more for you next week.
Okay.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
We'll see you, when?
Next week.
Yeah, bet. Okay, see ya.
See ya.
Let's go get some ice cream.
Okay.